The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
It needs remembering that reviewing things on the internet is a performance art. It also needs remembering the other part of the line. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Dino Fury episode review. Sadly, I have to start yet another video with a little reminder.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
Last week's review got even more people telling me to calm down, that this is just a kid's show, and I'm holding it to too high a standard. Let's start with calm down, which I find kind of an ironic thing to say, seeing as I happen to think that my channel came to prominence after a series of very loud, angry Ninja Steel reviews. My style is consistent. My performance does not vary to any significant degree. I do realize that some of you are brand new to me with the Dino Fury reviews, but you just have to trust me when I say that Dino Fury is not the first Power Rangers series to get my dander up. And it's not just the bad series. I distinctly remember the Dino Charge episode, Here Comes Heximus, was absolutely atrocious, and I reviewed it as such. I just find myself wondering if any of you tell the angry video game nerd to calm down. Linkara, the nostalgia critic, it needs remembering that reviewing things on the internet is a performance art. Imagine if all of my reviews sounded like this, whether I was excited that something was awesome or frustrated and really angry that it was terrible. Wouldn't that just be entertaining? Is that what all of you would like me to do?
One long, incredibly unbroken sentence moving from topic to topic.
I understand what's really going on here, even if some of you won't be able to admit it. You don't share my frustration with some of the issues that I've pointed out, but instead of allowing us to just have a difference in opinion, you want me to back down because, yes, you still respect my opinion, and you want our opinions to align. Couple of things about that. Number one, there's absolutely nothing that says our opinions have to align. You can still completely disagree with me and respect my opinion. My word is not gospel. Number two, I am not going to change my opinions or the style in which I deliver my opinions based on the whims of my audience. If I were to do that, trust me, you would notice and interest in my videos would start to fade. So I'm sorry, I'm standing firm on this one. Secondly, I'm going to combine that it's just a kid's show and I'm holding it to too high of a standard thing. First of all, Zordon, I feel like I'm doing a lot of first of all, second of all today, but first of all, number one, you do realize that's implying that children deserve substandard television, right? It's just a kid's show after all. It can't be deep or complex or entertaining. It's written for children. Number two. That argument does not hold water whether we're talking about the confines of Power Rangers or children's television at large. Avatar: The Last Airbender was just a kid's show. Steven Universe, just a kid's show. Gravity Falls, that's right, just a kid's show. But, okay, fine. Maybe Power Rangers isn't capable of reaching those heights within the limitations of its tropes. Power Rangers Time Force was just a kid's show, as was In Space, SPD, RPM, and Dino Charge. All of them well-written, intelligent, respecting the IQ of their wide-ranging age audience, and all just kid shows. So, all of that being said, I am not going to change. I realize that upsets some of you, and that's fine. To quote a roguish character from an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, I have many friends that do not like me. It's about respect. Respect me and my channel enough to allow me to do my show the way I want to do it, to have my own opinions and to get as loud about them as I want to. You can vote with your views. If you really just cannot handle hearing me rant about someone being told not to question something on a children's show, you can never watch another one of my videos again, and I say that with my most sincere blessing. I am the Orange Ranger. That is never, ever going to change. My style may evolve somewhat as time goes on, but I really don't see myself getting any more calm. You can get out of the car or buckle up, heroes.
Well, that settles that.
But I'm not saying I'm some kind of god-tier reviewer that never makes mistakes. Like, for example, imagine if I called Leonidas, the Spartan warrior best known from the movie 300, Thor. Wouldn't that be funny? What do you think, Leonidas?
This isn't funny!
I honestly debated making all of the stuff at the start of this video its own video so this review wouldn't be so long. But honestly, anything on my channel right now that isn't titled Dino Fury Episode Review is going to get about 200 views instead of about 1,500. So I wanted as many people as possible to see that. One more quick thing. This week I am debuting my new split review style, directly inspired, and I'm crediting them here, by Database Ranger and Morphin Legacy, with DB's Rapid Run-Through and a Deeper Look series. This actually ties into a surprising request that I got from one commenter recently to go back to explaining my pros and cons for each episode and overall making longer videos. I'm not exactly going to be making longer videos. This is what's going to be happening. The standard episode reviews are going to stay basically the same. Plot recap, pros and cons, episode score, no real explanation of the pros and cons. But now I'm adding a second, shorter review series called Just the Facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Just the Facts is going to start with a much shorter rundown of the plot of the episode. DBs run 99 seconds. I'm going to try to limit myself to about 2 or 3 minutes. Then the pros and cons, and yes, the more detailed explanation of them that some of you have said you miss. If you watch both videos, you're getting the longer episode reviews that some of you are insisting that you want. But if I'm just too much of a windbag for you, this will provide you a shorter, snackier option for an episode review. Just the Facts videos will never go longer than 10 minutes. I'm going to ensure that with script timing and in editing. Just over a page and a half of script and I haven't even started the review yet. Clearly Just the Facts is needed now more than ever. We're set to see an old face today, but will we be seeing a new Ranger? Let's find out by taking a look at the 8th episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, Unexpected Guest.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notification set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right, you.
What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
Apparently even this episode realized this video was going to take a long time to get started, as we begin the episode with a Zord Fight, and the rather inauspicious debut of the Dino Fury Megazord Blade Formation, with the Tricerazord in the driver's seat. They take out a Sporix beast named Doomsnake in about 5 seconds. From what I'm told, because I genuinely don't remember, this monster also makes a rather brief appearance in the Sentai footage. This really isn't a big deal to Void Knight. They already have another Sporix beast ready to go, a wolf monster named Wolfgang. Ha! That name is classic! Wolfgang has a howl that can apparently break stuff. It targets the Megazord, and it falls apart. Huh, that cutaway gag was actually more fitting than I thought. The Megazord fell apart from the very start. The Rangers evac the Megazord, which seriously breaks apart into component pieces, not the individual Zords. I'm talking about like the Lego pieces. Here's where I find myself wondering again if these Zords are sentient, at the very least maybe the spirits of the dinosaurs and the kitty cat, because that's got to be kind of painful. The Rangers start discussing what to do when a strange bird starts bothering them. They shoo it away, but then it transforms into Mr. Mechanic, the shape-shifting mentor of the Ninja Steel Rangers. This was a very poorly kept secret, as images from this episode were part of that image leak from the Power Rangers website before the season even started. It actually gave us the impression that Mick would be one of the mentors of this team, but sadly it seems to just be a guest spot for Mr. Henderson.
Are you sure? Okay.
Mick introduces himself and seriously kind of fanboys over the Rangers, even asking them for a selfie. They demorph and Zayto asks what he's doing there, clearly kind of irritated. Spoilers, Zayto's characterization is one of the downsides this week. Mick says he's looking for the ninja, well actually not the ninja, just the Nexus Prism, which crossed several galaxies to return to the planet Earth, landing somewhere in the vicinity of Dinohenge, because of course it did.
Oh well, gosh darn, ain't that convenient.
Mick suggests teaming up to look for the prism, especially since it has a very strong connection to the morphing grid. Zayto chooses violence. Okay, not literally, but that's something the kids say nowadays, isn't it? He says that they don't know him and they have bigger fish to fry. Mick meekly says he'll stay out of their hair. Zayto has the Rangers search the woods since they detected an energy wave coming from the woods before the Megazord fell apart. Mucus overheard Mick telling the Rangers about the prism and goes to tell Void Knight. Javi and Amelia head to work, with Amelia having 6 stories to work on and not a paranormal beast among them. Oh good, Jane and Jayborg. Jane is hosting a cooking show because apparently she's not just the boss of this little operation, but can host shows on it, seemingly at random. She asked Jayborg to help her with a giant prop comedy cake. A package is delivered, and props to Ranger Liz for being the first one that I saw anyway to spot the address of Buzz Blast, 72 Shortland Street. For those who aren't aware, Shortland Street is a New Zealand drama that many Power Rangers alum have either written for or acted on, or both perhaps. However, here's something that I noticed. Apparently, Pine Ridge is some kind of strange American city where you don't even have to list a state and a zip code. I mean, I guess there's only one Pine Ridge in the entire United States of America.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
By my count, after doing a quick search on Wikipedia, there are at least 16 cities or towns in the United States with the name Pine Ridge. Funny enough, there is one in the state of California, but the space is removed, so it's Pine Ridge instead of Pine Ridge.
Get on with it!
Right. Oh, maybe the package doesn't have a complete address because it's actually Mick, shape-shifting. Though that still begs the question of how the package was delivered in the first place. Okay, maybe Buzz Blast is trademarked nationwide, and this is the only address that's associated with Buzz Blast, so it can't be confused with anywhere else. However, the Postal Service still tends to be kind of picky about that sort of thing, and I can already hear MPG clearing his throat again, so let's just move on. Mick has snuck into Buzz Blast to use their computers to access Earth's databases, trying to find the prism. Mick, you have lived on Earth for at least a couple of years now. Don't you have a cell phone yet? Or why can't you use those computers back at that base room at Summer Cove High School?
Stop questioning it and play, my boy!
My Zordon, I think that is now one of my new favorite cutaway gags. Blah blah blah, Jayborg spots Mick after he talks to Javi and Amelia and tries to escort him out. Mick, in front of everyone, immediately, without even trying to hide, transforms into a basketball and starts bouncing around the room. I guess you could call it a fight or flight response. Fight or flight or turn into a ball. Anyway, J-Borg grabs a rolling pin and whacks the ball, which blows up the comedy prop cake to fulfill the stupid slapstick comedy requirement, and Mick is sent hurtling outside, right to the spot where Wolfgang teleports down.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Mick turns into a remote-controlled car and starts roaming around everywhere, and I'm kind of torn on this. On one hand, it's a clever escape and a good use of his abilities. I would say that this episode uses those abilities a lot better than Ninja Steel did. But on the other hand, not turning into something faster and more useful to escape makes this kind of feel like more comic relief. In fact, hey Homer, call me a nerd really quick. Nerd! Thank you, just needed to get that out of the way. When Mick changes into things that are smaller than himself, his density should increase. Example, imagine a remote-controlled car that weighs about, let's say 180, 200 pounds. Wouldn't be very fast, would it?
Moving right along.
The two Rangers call the three Rangers, and they teleport over, overhearing Wolfgang talking about tracking the prism, so now they know that Void Knight wants it. That's right, they sure want that Nexus prism. They do, they do, they, gender-neutral pronouns. Okay, sorry, moving on. The Rangers morph, led by Zayto, but weirdly it cuts over to Izzy like 3 times. Her face, her morpher, her battle stance. It's just a weird kind of side focus. One thing I will say is that I like how Izzy's battle stance has her hands open with her claws out, just like a cat. And here's something else I have to respect. This show is in its 8th episode, and they have not shortchanged the morphing sequence once. We get plenty of instamorphs, of course, but when they do the morphing sequence, it's the whole thing. They don't fast forward it, they don't cut to the end, it's the entire beautiful sequence. Fury power takes on furry power as the fight begins. The girls use boost keys, but Wolfgang's howl knocks the armor right back off, revealing that power to the Rangers. Wolfgang tries to find Mick, so the Rangers now realize that he needs protecting, teleporting him away. At the base, Mick explains to the Rangers about the Ninja Steel Rangers, but yet still does not call the prism the Ninja Nexus Prism, just the Nexus Prism. Mick hooks up a copy of the Ranger database on a small hard drive inside the base, letting the Rangers see the Nexus Prism and their computers search for it. Solon finds it nearby on a waterfront. Zayto has learned how important this is, insofar as not letting Void Knight get their hands on the prism, because who knows what they would do with it. The Rangers teleport out to the prism, leaving Mick at the base since it's not safe for him to be with them. To his credit, he shifts his attention to the Wolfgang problem, asking Solon if their base has a kitchen. He has an idea. And also he's hungry. You see, I like comedy when it's funny. Meanwhile, at Area 62, Wolfgang begs Void Knight for forgiveness after losing Mick, and this is where we get another Ranger Liz spot, and I was actually far more impressed by this one than the first because it's a lot more obscure and easy to miss. You see, Simon Bennett has said that at one point, Area 62 was supposed to be Area 51, or possibly Area 52. I've heard some conflicting reports on that. For those who don't know, Area 51 is a private and highly classified military research complex in Nevada, where there are supposedly aliens and spaceships and etc., etc. However, the term Area 51 is actually trademarked by several companies, and even the term Area 52 is trademarked by a few, so they weren't able to use it. There's a shot of Void Knight while they chew out Wolfgang with an Area 62 sign in the background. And you can see, if you narrow your focus in on it, that the 6 has clearly been changed into a 5, and that 2 may have even been a 1 at one point. Excellent spot, Liz. That's my sister, y'all. Anyway, hey look, there's Boom Tower. It says that it can retrieve the prism, and with the Sporix inside, what Sporix beast is that anyway? It can also beat the Rangers too. They tell it to not come back if they fail, but it says that it gets the dog. Just poking that there. Oh, heroes, here we go. Some have been saying that Dino Fury has gotten a little too episodic lately, getting too far away from the story's core plot. Hey, here's a gigantic plot dump. The Rangers find the Nexus Prism just sitting out on a dock, just kind of sitting there, and apparently nobody thought that this was weird or worth reporting. Well, there's nobody around. Maybe they all ran away in terror, but nobody called the Ranger hotline, I guess. Anyway, Zayto uses his mind-reading powers. Hey, by the way, do you remember that Zayto has mind-reading powers that we haven't seen him use since the first episode when he used them on Ollie and Amelia? The Ninja Nexus Prism was created by the Morphin Masters, as were the Energems and the Dino Gems. The Power Coins probably would have been created by them too if MMPR's plot didn't specifically establish that Ninjor created the Power Coins. But hey, Ninjor could have been a Morphin Master, who the heck knows? Anyway, the Morphin Masters apparently just created a whole bunch of Ranger powering stuff and then randomly sent it out into the universe to fight evil. We get a quick little clip sequence from Ninja Steel as Zayto explains about the Ninja Steel Rangers. After Super Ninja Steel, the Prism left, but it has returned to Earth on a brand new mission to find something. Oh, and apparently the Morphin Masters are still around and have been using these types of artifacts to keep tabs on all of the ongoing Ranger teams, including the Dino Fury Rangers. Zayto finds this out from the Ninja Nexus Prism, and I ad-libbed this take into the script just to use this cutaway.
How did you know about the parts you weren't there for?
Then Boom Tower and Wolfgang beam in. Ah, the follow the heroes approach to stealing the MacGuffin. The Prism hides in the water as they fight. The Rangers get beaten around and tossed onto some rubber boxes and pallets, and then Wolfgang uses its howl to start bringing a cliff down onto them. But then Mick beams in, saying he's got a treat for the doggy. The doggy eats the lozenge, which is apparently a no howl drop.
I get it.
I don't get it.
With no destructive howl, Wolfgang decides to grow, and Boom Tower decides to join in. The Rangers summon their Zords, one at a time, to pad the episode out. But it is a fun sequence, and I believe this is the first time we've heard the names of all 5 Zords mentioned in full on screen. Then Zayto just declares that it's time to show them something brand new, and the Rangers just suddenly combine all 5 of their Zords.
I don't know if I'm ready for that also. What? 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 What?
Where's the build-up to that? I mean, I can admit, the writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner here. All of these Zords were used in the ancient past. Zayto is familiar with everything they can do, so there's not really anything new, as far as we're aware of, to the Rangers that the Zords can do. It's only new to us. But it's just too sudden and matter of fact. 5 Zords combining, when usually only 3 can combine, is usually an episode's entire plot. We have to go find the mystical who's-a-what's-it or invent the technical thingy-do that makes that possible. I mean, at the very least, point out that having the Stegozord is what makes this possible now. I mean, I do realize that that's kind of obvious now that they have all 5 Zords, but maybe some component fell off the Stegozord and they have to go find it to make this combination possible. A commenter last week said they were fearing a lazy name for this formation, Dino Fury Megazord Claw Spike Formation. I actually wouldn't have minded that so much, and in a way, the name they actually went with, while slightly more creative, also feels a little bit lazier. This is the Dino Fury Megazord Warrior Formation. The formation has a lot of powerful attacks, as each Ranger can actually attack with parts of their individual Zords. For example, Javi can use the drills from the Stegozord to do a thrusting Madonna Bra attack.
That just happened.
Wolfgang leaps in, but in an admittedly awesome moment, the Megazord flips its sword behind itself through its arm and lets the monster impale itself. Seriously, ouchies! Mucus catches the powered-up Sporix, literally by using a baseball glove. Boom Tower attacks with a beam, but the Rangers can counter it from above, meaning they can literally jump into the beam and then just slash through it. Zayto gets tired of pushing Boom Tower around. Seriously, this fight is disinterestingly one-sided, summoning the Mega Fury Saber for a Dino Fury Slash. The 4 other iterations of the Megazord are manifested, each doing a slash before the big Megazord does one, and that's another Dino Fury victory.
That was easy.
Boom Tower loses the Sporix this time because the Kool-Aid Man is red, but Izzy catches this one, Mucus teleporting away when she attacks her. The Prism emerges from the water and just pieces out. It finally found what it was looking for?
Who knows? Not me. Who cares? Ditto mark.
At Area 62, Mucus delivers the bad news that Boom Tower has apparently been completely destroyed this time, and the good news, bringing back Wolfgang's level 2 Sporix. Void Knight slams it into the jukebox, but it's just not enough power. They storm off in a huff into that secret room. But this time, we follow them in. We see Void Knight walk up to a chamber and apologize for yet another setback. Is this Void Knight's secret boss? Not exactly. Inside the chamber is a blonde woman, unconscious, seemingly human, suspended in blue fluid with tubes coming out of her head. Okay, maybe I should start calling Void Knight he, because apparently he's Mr. Freeze.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Full credit to Dark Tamara, and True KROs on Twitter for pointing out the blindingly obvious joke that I didn't think of until I mentioned this idea on Twitter. But actually, hang on, because there's something else to point out here. Void Knight is Mr. Freeze. Mucus is green, female, and a plant. Poison Ivy. Boom Tower is a big, dumb brute. Bane. Are Dino Fury's villains inspired by Batman and Robin? We get a comedy wrap-up with the Rangers at the base, and once again, comedy from the Rangers is better than anything that Jane and Jayborg have ever given us. The Rangers eat some of what they think is candy, but turns out to be failed prototypes of the no howl drop that makes them make animal sounds. As long as Wolfgang wasn't howling, I think that still would have worked. Solon jolts them out of it, somehow, by roaring like a dinosaur. Long story short, Mick is proud of this team of Power Rangers as well, gives back his Dinocom, nice little small touch there, and leaves in a space taxi to go follow the Prism. I'll be staying here so I can balance these scales. Episode 8, Unexpected Guest. Prose, creative story structure, plot focused on the Rangers, finally, and the Void Knight Mr. Freeze cliffhanger. Cons, Mick feels kinda wasted, the Morphin Master stuff feels like an overly convenient plot dump, and no big build-up for Warrior Formation. Good. No, better than good. But yet not great. Unexpected Guest gets 3.5 scales out of 5. There was nothing in this episode that annoyed me like either of the Garcia Zord episodes, and I thought it was pretty good in its own right. The Void Knight revelation is something we're going to be talking about for the next few months. But this is one where I just felt like it could have been a lot better. Between that reveal and Mick, there was a 5 in this episode somewhere. Just didn't work out that way. Next time on Dino Fury... Next time on Dino Fury. Yeah, there's no new episode of Dino Fury next week. Or the next week. Or the next month. Yeah, remember that last season was a bit of an exception. We have once again reached the end of the 8th episode, and it's time for Dino Fury to go hibernate for the summer. So, what have I decided to do for hiatus reviews? Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills is so completely reviewed that I've actually reviewed 41 episodes of a 40-episode series. So there's this indie film producer on Twitter that's been pretty active lately, mainly talking about the work they're doing now, but perfectly happy to talk about what they did before. Acting. Primarily episode-type character work until the year 2008, when they landed their first starring role in the second try adaptation of another Japanese tokusatsu property to make a show like Power Rangers. As you've surely realized by now, that man's name is Stephen Ford, Lunsford at the time, and that show is what I'm going to be reviewing during the hiatus. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Let's take a peek at the first episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, Search for the Dragon. A troubled young man returns home after his father disappears, finding a mysterious deck of cards that leads him into a battle against monsters from the world inside the mirror. And that is going to wrap up the last Dino Fury review before the hiatus begins. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. And I just want to say, and I'm once again ad-libbing this into the script, I know I've been a little harsh about some of the commentary that I've been getting. I will give my honest opinions about what I feel about specific critique, but I don't want anybody who watches me to feel like they can't critique me. Say your piece, say your thing. Like I said before, you're perfectly fine to have your opinion and just not watch me if you feel like you can't stand my reviewing style. I'm fine with you saying whatever you want to say about me. Just be prepared for me to respond in whatever way I find appropriate. Now that the video's done, you can let me know what you thought of this episode as well as my review of it down in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. And if you'd liked any shirts or mugs or masks that have my channel logo on them, check out my Teespring store. Until next time, heroes, for the start of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight reviews, may the power protect you. As was SPD, Dino Charge, RPM, In Space, which I said a second too late, Gravity Falls, yep, just a kid's show. Gosh dang it. Secondly, that argument does not hold water. Get in the car and buckle up, or get on out, heroes. Nope, doing it again, that was stupid. Yes, with the longer explanation that some of you have told me that you miss. If maybe like the spirits of the original dinosaurs, because that's gotta be kind of painful. I didn't say the kitty cat part, but I can defend. They detected an energy wave coming from the woods just before the Megazord fell apart. The package is actually Mick shapeshifting again, though it still begs the question. My Zordon, I think that's going to be one of my new favorite cutaway gags. Blah, 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 blah. Mick turns into a remote-controlled bleh, like she has claws out. Gosh, dang it. But Wolfgang's howl knocks the armor right back off, revealing that ability. Maybe at Area 52. I've heard some conflicting reports on that. Isn't that nice? With an Area 62 background in the sign of the background sign. With no destructive howl, Wolfgang decides to grow, and Boom Tower We need to find the gosh, friggin' dang it. 5 Zords combining is very often an episode's entire Ranger plot. What, god dang it. Solon jolts it out of, the 2, I don't mention the 2. We are going to be focusing on the Rangers this time. Cool. Hold on just a second. Void Knight is Mr. Freeze. Mucus wants me to do this take again. On a completely related little trip, when they landed their first starring role on the adaptation